Hello Python programming students. In this video you're going to learn how to use the online GDB environment for coding your Python programs for the course. So the first thing you want to do is, anytime you want to use online GDB, is of course navigate to onlinegdb.com, and again that is onlinegdb.com. Once you get into the interface, the very first thing you want to do the first time you use online GDB is create an account. So we'll hit sign up on the left hand side in the menu, and notice we have several options here. So we want to sign up with our Google account. If you have a Google account, and CMS students, you all have a Google account, so click the Google Plus button. If you are already logged into your CMS Google account, you will see this screen to tell you to choose the account. Make sure you choose your CMS Google account, the one that has your ID number here. If you are not logged into your CMS Google account, you will need to log in to your CMS Google account on this screen after you hit the G+ button on the other side. So go ahead and choose the correct account. That creates an account for you and brings you back to the interface. Next, you want to make sure we're always working in Python. So we choose Python 3 from the language drop down, and this is our interface. So we're going to talk about these buttons up here at the top as we go along. The logging in allows you to save your progress in case you don't finish it. Some of your teachers may have you share your final product, and some of your teachers may have you download the code and upload the code. Most of the time you will download the code and upload the code, but again you may share and copy and paste that link in the comments. So this is how the shell always starts, or how the interface always starts, with some code already in the Python editor. And if we just run the code, we see that we get down here on the bottom in our output area, we get the printed text, hello world, which is what this program is doing. So this is the traditional hello world program that all programming students in their first class of programming creates. So you can kind of see how that looks, what it looks like. We're actually going to do something a little different. So click anywhere in the editor window and do Control A. That highlights all the code, and then just delete that code either with the backspace or the delete key. So the first thing we're going to talk about are comments. You saw the video in the lesson introduction section on comments and some tips for using comments. Remember that comments in any programming language are for the programmer, or any programmer that might be working on that particular project. So in Python, comments always start with a hashtag, that's what you guys call it, or it's called the pound sign or the number symbol. So this is a comment in Python. So make sure you get that in your notes and know what a comment looks like in Python. So all of our programs will start with 3 comments at the top. And we just call these the program comments, and you don't have to write that line number 3, but I will use comments in the video to help you kind of understand what that section is doing. So the first program comment is always going to be your name. So you'll just type your name in, and full first name and last name that you go by in class, so that your teacher will have that information. And then the second comment is the date that you created or modified this particular program, and so today's date is 22nd. And the third program comment that we're going to use is the name of the program. So the program name, and this is Module 1, Lesson 1, Practice and Explore. So those are our 3 program comments: our name, date, and the program name. And notice that I can make those as many comments as I want to use. That this is considered a multi-line comment in Python. We're going to talk a little bit later about another different kind of a pseudo multi-line comment that you can use as well. So the first thing we're going to do is, or the next thing we're going to do is talk about strings. What are strings? So this is just a general question. We're getting ready to answer this one together. You do not need to answer this question as you're creating your program because we're getting ready to answer it together. So basically, strings are a sequence of characters in its simplest form. And if this can be any character that you can type on the keyboard. So not just letters, we can also use numbers and symbols, letters, capital letters, lowercase letters, and other symbols that we might not be able to print, so even blank spaces and so forth. So this would be considered a string in its simplest form. However, in a programming language, we indicate strings in Python by enclosing them in quotes, in quotations. We can use double quotes, or we can use single quotes. So Python doesn't care. We're going to find out later what happens if we're not careful when we use those. So let's print out a string or a message onto the console output, onto the output. So in Python, to display output, we use the print function. Now, all throughout lesson 1, you will learn more about the print function, but in this particular activity, we're just going to look at it in its simplest form. So, to do that, we're going to print this statement. So notice that as I'm using this editor, it's color-coded. Our comments are kind of this light orange color. Our function names that are built into Python are this bright orange color. Strings are going to be green, and everything else is going to be white, as we see. And so we're just simply going to say, hello, my name is, and then you type in whatever your name is here. All right. So if we run this program, then we see that the output is displayed on the console. Now, to make this grammatically correct, we need to go ahead and add some punctuation at the end there. So if you want to use a period, we'll use a period. If you want to use an exclamation mark, you can use an exclamation mark. To display a blank line, in Python, you do this. You just simply print and then put nothing inside the parentheses. So you simply print with nothing inside the parentheses. And now we're going to go ahead and print a second line. And the second line is going to say, I am in Python 1, period. And notice that as we are typing, if we start with a double quote, you may have seen this, Online GDB automatically adds the end double quote. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay. All right. So if you're working on Online GDB and you get something takes you away from, and you have to save this for later, you can just hit save. You give it a name. So, and I would encourage you to name these whatever it is. So module 2, lesson 1, practice and explore. And then notice that will show up over there on the left hand side when you're working in it. But if you decide to log out and you come back to Online GDB and you log in with your school's Google account that you used when you created your account, over on the left hand side you'll see that it's not at the top like it was before, but it's located right here inside My Projects. And so when you click inside My Projects, you'll see it there, Module 2, Lesson 1, Practice and Explore. So you click on it, and that will bring up the code that you were working on, and you'll be able to continue where you left off. So next, we're going to work with errors. So in all programming languages, there are 3 basic kinds of errors. There are syntax errors, and syntax errors occur when you violate the rules of the programming language. So think of grammar in English, for example. If we violate the grammar rules in English, then we've got bad English syntax. Same thing's true in Python. If you violate the rules in Python, then you have bad syntax. There are runtime errors. And this is when you violate the rules of the computer. For example, the program compiles fine, it's running, and then when it's running, something happens to cause it to crash. And we're going to see how those errors occur later. And then you have logic errors. And this is when you get unexpected output. So I'm going to stop the video here, and then I'm going to start another one in just a second because we're kind of running out of time on this one. We get 15 minutes for free. So we'll stop the video here, and then we'll come back in a second video.